Hi there. Welcome back to the formulaic approach. Now in this video, we are going to be talking about the female reproductive system. Now let's quickly understand the meaning of the words. Now what is a system? A system is basically various organs functioning together to achieve the same function, to achieve the same aim, right? So what about reproduction? Reproductive from the word reproduction, which is the process by which living things give rise to young ones called offsprings of their kind. They give birth to young ones or offsprings of their kind. That's reproduction. So reproductive system will simply mean a system of organs that as that help in the production of a new individual, help in the production of a new of an offspring. Is that clear? So that is their goal. The goal of those organs is to produce a new being. Now, one thing you should know about the reproductive system is that it is the one system in your body that is not exactly concerned about your own existence or your survival. It is especially concerned about the continuity of life. Remember that the reproductive system is not concerned about your own survival or your own existence, but about the continuity of life. It is majorly concerned with giving rise to another organism like yourself. Is that clear? That is the chief work of the reproductive system. For example, every other organelle, if you remove every other system, if removed from your body, you cannot exist, but not like the reproductive system. It is not concerned about your existence, like I said. Let's now continue. Now we are going to be dealing with just the female reproductive system in this section. In the next one, we are going to deal with the male reproductive system. Now, if you are asked to draw the female reproductive system, now there are about 5 chief components that you must put that must be there. 5 main organs. The first one is the ovary. Okay, the ovary is the part of the reproductive organ of the female that produces the egg. Okay, that is the egg factory. Okay, now the next thing is the oviduct. The oviduct is also called fallopian tube. Now it is named after fallopian tube. This is the name of a person, okay? Gabriel Fallopos. In about 16th century was the one that discovered that he actually, debunked one idea by a certain scientist. I've forgotten the name of the scientist. He was one that discovered that hypothesized the nature of the uterus of the female is one of the fathers of human anatomy. That's the point. So Gabriel Fallopos, this tube is called fallopian tube, oviduct. Number 3 is where it enters, that is the uterus. So the content from here enters the uterus. So the uterus is called the womb, okay? That's why they are called women. A woman is simply a man with a womb, okay? Then we now have the cervix, okay, which is just the boundary between the outlet of the uterus. The outlet of the uterus is this. Then the vagina, which is the birth canal. Now the vagina is the outermost part of that reproductive system. It is the outermost part. It's the one that is closest to the outside. So that's the vagina. So if you ask to draw the female reproductive system, these 5 components, yes, must be there. Now, quickly, let me draw a female reproductive system and show you the functions of these guys there and where they are in that structure. So the female reproductive system typically looks like this. So now there is the ovary. The ovary is around here. Now this ovary is going to be the one to produce the egg. So this is our ovary. This is the ovary. Now it produces egg. Now whatever egg it produces is going to be released. First, how does it know it should produce egg? When the female attains puberty, once a female, this girl, for example, attains puberty, then egg maturation begins. Actually, egg production is not what begins here. Remember that. The process of producing egg in a female is called oogenesis. And oogenesis in female would have started before her birth. It happens before the birth of the female, before birth, okay, of the female. So all the eggs that a female will produce have already been produced before her birth, and they are usually about 200, between 200,000 to 500,000 eggs in every female. Between that, very fertile women about 500,000 or close to 500,000. Then the common women between 200,000, around 200,000 eggs. So the point is that oogenesis has begun before she was born. Immediately after she is born, oogenesis stops. Oogenesis is the process of egg production. Okay? So now, what happens here at puberty is egg maturation. There's an hormone that is secreted by the anterior pituitary, and it's called the FSH. So there are actually two hormones, two sex hormones. We have the FSH and the LH. Now, the FSH is called the follicle stimulating hormone. Look, do have to check out my video on hormones, and you're going to understand hormones better. But I'll be talking about just this too. The FSH is the hormone that goes to the ovary to go and tell it to stimulate the maturation of those eggs. Before that puberty, these eggs exist as what is called Graafian follicles. Graafian follicles. Now, the Graafian follicles are also called primordial follicles. Primordial follicles, okay? So this is also the name of a scientist, Graafian, Graphy or something. Rain Graph, that's his name, Rain Graph something. So the point is that these guys are existing here before puberty. Immediately after once puberty is reached, the follicle stimulating hormone will go to the ovary. It will go and stimulate the ripening of these follicles, okay? Follicle stimulating hormone. Stimulate the ripening of these follicles. And once they mature, they are going to go through several stages. I'm going to show you in the other video where I'll talk about oogenesis and all, how eggs are actually being produced in the female. How they are produced, not matured, okay? Or ripened. So what happens here is that they become ripened, and at the that maturity stage, they are called secondary oocytes, okay? They are called secondary oocytes. So it is those secondary oocytes that guy meets here. So that secondary oocytes, once it is ripe, it will be released, okay? Now, how does it know when it should be released, or how does it know when it is ripened? Once it is ripe, this hormone that is called the luteinizing hormone, the luteinizing hormone is the one that is now released that tells this guy, the ovary, to release the egg that has ripened. And there are two, okay? There are two on both sides, okay? So this is another ovary, this one over here, this one over here. Most mammals have two ovaries, okay? In fact, most vertebrates have two ovaries, except birds, okay? Birds, you mostly have one ovary. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they produce very big eggs, okay? But the point is they have one ovary. Other guys from that, Pisces, aves, amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals, all of them usually have two ovaries. So the point is that the system is coordinated such that once an egg is ripened here, usually no egg is ripened here. But in the case, there are cases where it happens that eggs can be ripened on both sides, where we will give rise to a fraternal twins. Okay, if both eggs get fertilized, they will give birth to a fraternal twins. But we're going to get to that later. The point is just understand the way these guys function. Once the egg is released, this portion here, if you look at this thing, there are finger-like projections here. Those finger-like projections are called fimbria, okay? Fimbria. So the tube enters into this place like this. It enters this place like this, okay? And it continues into this side. This arm is also here, okay? So more like I'm slashing my diagram here. So then there is this side here. Okay, now I want you to notice this side here. Now this side is called, this inner portion is called the endometrium. The endometrium is the mucosal, has what is called mucosal lining, okay? Mucosal lining, which can be enriched with blood, okay? It can be richly supplied with blood during in preparation for pregnancy, okay? It prepares it for pregnancy. So now, the point is that once the egg, this luteinizing hormone, once the egg is ripe, this luteinizing hormone will tell this guy to release the egg, okay? When the egg is released, that thing that breaks out is the egg, okay? That's the part that has broken out will be called the corpus luteum, okay? The corpus luteum. So it means that this guy stimulates the creation of what? Corpus luteum. The corpus luteum also secretes other hormones. That's why it is necessary to mention it, okay? Now, the ovary secretes two other hormones. The corpus luteum is the one that actually secretes the production of progesterone, okay? But we overall say that the ovary secretes estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone. Now, the progesterone is one of the most important, which is, both of them are important, okay? This one is just for stimulation of female sexual character, okay? The maturation of the sexual character of a female, that's estrogen. The maturation or development of female sexual characteristics. But progesterone is the pregnancy hormone. Don't forget, P for P, pregnancy hormone. Okay, yeah, my point is now that this guy is the one that now helps, immediately the egg is released, is the one that tells this guy here to be supplied with blood, which is the endometrium, right? The outer portion here is called the myometrium. It is made up of a smooth muscle, okay? And you will notice any portion of the body that will need contraction is going to be made of what? A smooth muscle, right? For example, our throat, our esophagus is made of smooth muscle. Hence, peristalsis can occur, right? Push it down of the food, right? So the same way, because this thing will need to be contracted during childbirthing, then it has to be smooth muscles. So myometrium is one of the smooth muscles in the body. Now the point is that is what lines this wall here. Then the inner lining is called the inner mucosal lining is called the endometrium. All right. So the point is this, that the egg is now released. Now this portion I said is the fimbriae. This funnel-like portion, the funnel-like opening here, this funnel-like opening here has a name. It's called the infundibulum. In the body, any part that is funnel shaped is called infundibulum, okay? And something that is funnel shaped, another biological term for funnel shaped is choana, if you have heard of that before, choana. So this one is used for the female reproductive system, infundibulum. So this part is the infundibulum, you can see it's already like a funnel, isn't it? Then the place where it begins to dilate here is called the ampulla. Okay? Now the point is this, that this portion here, this part here is one of the 5 most important ones that I mentioned. That is the oviduct. This tube, this entire tube you are seeing here, is called the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Now, it is embedded in it are cilia. Okay, it is ciliated. So that cilia is what helps the egg that is released. When the egg has been released, poof, it has been released, is going to be moving by the ciliary action. Okay, it's going to be moved inward by the ciliary action. They are going to be undulating and moving in that wise. They will be moving the egg into the oviduct until it makes its way into this part that is called the uterus or the womb of the woman. So when it gets here, a process known as, now before that occurs rather, if this woman has sex, okay, during this period, if she has sex, now what will happen is that she's fertilizing, sperm is going to be released and it will fill this place. Some sperm will go here, some sperm will go here. Now if this arm is the one that releases the egg, then fertilization of the egg is going to occur. Provided the sperm and the eggs are viable, both of them are going to fuse together in a process known as fertilization. So keep in mind, fertilization takes place mostly in what? The oviduct. Fertilization takes place mostly where? In the oviduct. So usually, okay, that's the point. Fertilization takes place in the oviduct. Once the sperm has been fertilized, what they form is called a zygote. They form a zygote. Now the zygote will now make its way, will be swept into this place. That zygote at that moment exists as a blastocyst. Exists as what? A blastocyst. Now it is that blastocyst that will now enter into this place. Remember, I've told you that this place is already filled with blood vessels, right? It's already been filled with blood vessels, both sides already been filled with blood vessels. What they are preparing the uterus for is this, for invagination of this guy, so that this guy can enter into it in a process known as implantation. implantation. Once that guy enters the uterus, once the zygote, the blastocyst implantation, the blastocyst has now entered into the uterus, we call the process implantation. Now, that implantation usually takes place between 6 to 7 days. It takes place between 6 to 7 days after fertilization. Is that clear? So the point is that's implantation. Now, but what if the woman does not have sex? This implantation will only occur if the woman has sex. What if the woman does not have sex? What will happen is that usually once the guy gets here and the woman has not had sex, then the body would have already understood that there is no fertilization that has occurred. So what will happen is that there will be shedding off of this blood vessel and it will flow out as menstruation for the woman, which is a 28 days cycle. Now this portion here is called the cervix, okay? It's called the cervix, and this outer portion here you are seeing here that is very close to the outer portion is called the vagina. So this is the vagina of the woman or birth canal. This cervix, its function is to allow for easy control for the birthing of a child, okay? Now, during childbirth, women usually produce a hormone that is called oxytocin. So this oxytocin is to help in the contraction of smooth muscles here. Remember, I told you that the endometrium is made up of smooth muscles, right? So the smooth muscles are also what make up the cervix. So that the cervix can contract easily, that's why she secretes oxytocin. But if she still has problem during childbirth, what they will do is that the doctor is going to inject her with artificial oxytocin, and it's going to help the cervix to open up easily, and the birthing of a child will be easy. Then another portion I have not mentioned is probably this part of the female reproductive system is called the fundus. It's called the fundus. Now, of course, you should also know that this thing now that you're seeing here, some people might be confused as to how it is inside the female body. Now, this thing that I'm showing you here, okay, if I am standing like this, it's actually going to stand like this. This fundus is like this, tissue, a muscular tissue that is bending this way, okay? That shape is what makes them to, is the reason it is called fundus, okay? So, but the point is, now, this whole thing that you are seeing here in a female will look something like this. So if a female were to be sitting and opening the vagina, then what you're going to see is this. If the vagina is open, you will see what looks like this. So these are leg, these are leg. Now, this is the anus, okay? These are anus here. Now, this place here is going to be the vagina, okay? Okay? So keep in mind that there are three openings in the body of a female. Here, there's the anus, there's the vagina, and there's one other one here, which is the urinary orifice. The urinary orifice. The woman does not urinate from her vagina. She urinates from a urinary orifice, okay? That is provided a tube that connects to the urethra. It is in male that the urethra serves dual purpose: ejection of sperm and urine. But in the female, urethra serves only one purpose: ejection of urine via the urinary opening. Just above the vagina. The vagina is covered by 2 layers of skin called the vaginal I've forgotten the name, but they have special name. The exact name is the one over it is called the labia majora, the big one, the labia majora, and the smaller one is the labia minora. Okay, the smaller one inside, and that one opens to this opening here that is called the hymen. Okay, it's called the hymen. So the point, and then there's another stimulatory structure here that's called the clitoris. Is the portion of the female reproductive system that is very, very stimulatory, okay? It arouses the female. It arouses the female when touched, okay? So if the female is touching herself, for example, it is the clitoris that is touching and she'll be getting aroused. So that's the point on the female reproductive system. So this view is this whole thing that I'm showing you. I'm putting in this I'm putting it laterally, I'm positioning it laterally like this. So that's what you are seeing here, okay? We are seeing this portion like this, from this ventral, relative to this, but I'm seeing from the ventral, okay? This structure you are seeing here. So that's basically the function of this parts of the male reproductive system. We've talked about this. Alright, so that's basically it. Do also subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we are going to talk about the male reproductive system and the parts and their function. God bless you as you subscribe to the channel.